Did you know 37.6 million ounces of silver just vanished from the COMEX vaults in only 47 days? That's the single largest drain since 1980. And do you remember what happened in 1980? Silver skyrocketed to nearly $50 an ounce, and the entire futures market nearly collapsed. Now, fast forward to today. On February 14, 2025, 4 major South Korean banks completely stopped selling silver. Not for a day, not for a week. They stopped indefinitely. At the same time, China blocked its citizens from buying physical precious metals, and Russia was banned from the London trading floors. And right now, something is happening that shouldn't even be possible. The spot price of silver is trading higher than the price for a futures contract. This is called backwardation, and in plain English, it means people are willing to pay more to get their hands on physical silver today than for a promise of silver tomorrow. That is the definition of panic buying. But this isn't just about the price of silver going up. This is stage 3 of a 4-stage pattern that has repeated itself throughout all of human history. And when stage 4 hits, the price won't even matter, because you won't be able to find any physical silver at any price. This exact pattern has happened 3 times before, and each time the people who saw it coming early made generational wealth, and each time everyone else was left standing there, wondering what on earth just happened. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where we are in this pattern, why this time is fundamentally different, and what the Hunt brothers' $17 billion lesson can teach us about what not to do. Let me explain the pattern. It's brutally simple. Stage 1 is establishment. A commodity becomes money. Governments back their currency with it, and prices stay stable for decades. Everyone trusts the system. Think about it. Silver was in every single American coin until 1964. You could walk into any bank with a dollar bill and get physical silver. It was stable, predictable, and trusted. Then comes stage 2, manipulation. Someone, somewhere, realizes they can create paper claims on physical metal. Suddenly, 1 ounce of real physical silver is backing 10 paper contracts, then 50, then 100. Paper is extremely profitable. Holding physical metal is expensive. So, they flood the market with these promises, these paper contracts. The price of silver drops because it looks like there's an infinite supply, but there isn't. This brings us to stage 3, the squeeze. Demand for physical silver starts to grow. People start showing up and demanding physical delivery for their paper contracts. The vaults begin to drain. And then everyone realizes at the exact same time that there are enough ounces of silver to cover all the paper promises. Panic sets in. People rush to convert their paper into physical metal, but the physical metal simply doesn't exist. And finally, stage 4, the break. The paper market completely collapses. Trading halts. Delivery failures cascade through the system. The price for physical metal goes parabolic, while the paper contracts become worthless. The people holding real, tangible metal win. Everyone else learns an incredibly expensive lesson about the difference between owning something and owning a promise of something. This is why the price won't matter. When stage 4 hits, there is no paper price anymore, only a physical price. And I'm going to prove to you, using the COMEX's own data, that we are already deep into stage 3. But first, you have to understand why silver is different from every other commodity on this planet. Gold is just money, but silver is both money and the single most critical industrial material in modern technology, your phone. It's full of silver. Solar panels, silver. The electronics in your car, silver. Medical equipment, 5G towers, even missiles. Every single piece of technology that defines our modern civilization depends on silver, and we are running out. We're looking at a 149 million ounce deficit in 2024. This is the fourth straight year of a massive deficit. We are mining less silver every year, while we are using more every year. According to a study by the University of New South Wales, the solar panel industry alone could drain between 85 to 98% of all global silver reserves by the year 2050. Now, watch what happens when we apply this four-stage pattern to what's happening right now. But first, let me prove this pattern is real with the most dramatic example in history. It involves two brothers, 200 million ounces of silver, and a plan that almost broke the entire global financial system. I'm talking about Nelson Bunker Hunt and William Herbert Hunt, two Texas oil billionaires. In 1979, they started buying silver, not just a little bit. They bought everything they could. They accumulated 200 million ounces, half in physical metal and half in futures contracts. Their bet was simple. The US dollar was dying. Inflation was at 13%. Nixon had just killed the gold standard in 1971. Fiat currency was collapsing, and silver was real money. And by the way, they weren't wrong. In January of 1979, silver was $6 an ounce. By September, it was 10. By December, 30. And on January 17, 1980, silver hit $49.45. That's a 724% increase in just 12 months. The Hunt brothers were worth billions, making them the richest men in America, and Wall Street was absolutely terrified. Why? Because they weren't just buying paper contracts. They were taking delivery. They were physically draining the supply from the vaults. And they were using leverage, controlling far more silver with futures contracts than they could ever buy outright. Every single contract was a claim on physical metal, and they were demanding that metal. The COMEX panicked. The vaults were emptying. If the Hunts kept demanding delivery, the entire exchange would fail. So, the COMEX did what exchanges always do when they were losing. They changed the rules in the middle of the game. On January 7, 1980, they introduced Silver Rule 7, no new long positions allowed. You could sell your position or maintain your existing ones, but you could not buy any more. In plain English, they were freezing the Hunt brothers out of the market. But silver kept climbing anyway, until January 21st. That's when they raised the margin requirements drastically. Overnight, holding futures contracts became impossibly expensive. The Hunts needed hundreds of millions of dollars in additional margin just to hold their positions. They scrambled. They started to sell. Others saw this, panicked, and sold to 10. Came March 27, 1980, a day now known as Silver Thursday. Silver collapsed from over $21 to $10.80 in a single day. The Hunt brothers lost $1.7 billion. They eventually declared bankruptcy. Brokerage houses were on the brink of collapse. Banks froze all credit for 48 hours. The entire system almost broke completely. But here is the part that everyone forgets. The people who were holding physical silver, not futures, not paper, but actual metal in their possession, they didn't lose anything. When all the dust settled, the price of silver was still $10. That's still 66% higher than where it started. The people who bought physical silver at $6 and held on through all the chaos, made enormous returns. The Hunt brothers failed because they used leverage and played with paper contracts. The system changed the rules on them, but you can't change the rules on something you physically own. That lesson is critical, because we are watching the exact same setup play out today. And honestly, it's even worse this time. Remember, in 1971, when Nixon closed the gold window, it was the same pattern. Foreign banks were demanding physical gold for their dollars, but America didn't have enough gold to give them. So Nixon ended the dollar's backing in gold. Gold went from $35 an ounce to $850. Silver went from $1.40 to $49. Both metals were telling the exact same story. When you remove the physical backing from money, the paper currency loses its value and the physical asset explodes. The same pattern destroyed palladium traders back in 2001. Russia controlled 60% of the world's palladium supply and mysteriously delayed shipments. Physical palladium vanished from the market. The price spiked 263% in just 2 years. The paper traders who were holding futures contracts got completely crushed when there was no metal to deliver. But the people holding physical palladium became very, very rich. 3 different examples, all showing the same unbreakable pattern. And now, it's happening again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates as this story unfolds.